big thing, of course, that happened this week is the retirement of Sting.
Yes.
Yeah, the problem is we're recording this on Monday, so I didn't have a chance to actually watch the show.
Yeah, he might have released a really offensive podcast by the time this goes out.
Or wouldn't it be great? Or you got Ric Flair has interrupted and interfered in the match, and Sting's
and they
gone,
started a new program together. Yeah,
Sting's just gone, done the Mark Henry and just gone, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to, and Ric Flair's going to wear face paint. It's just going to be stinky. Oh, mate, it's going to be
Stinky.
so bad.
I very much enjoyed Ian Drew Dice Clay on Twitter.
Yeah, Ian, he's great.
He's great on Twitter, isn't he? And he's basically talking about how good Sting was, and from a British perspective, which is not something you see very often.
Yeah.
And how pervasive WCW stuff was out there because they just spat a lot of stuff out, and Sting was just everywhere. Some guy then goes, actually, the match is tomorrow.
Oh God! I got all of that as well. I put up a picture of Sting that my friend Russell Eyesight took in 1991.
Yeah.
And I was just like, that is an incredible thing. We were 14 then. We're 47 now.
Yeah.
That gives you an indication of how long Sting has been at the top of the business for all of those years. Okay, there's a couple of years where he's, disappeared and he's sort of lost in the mix. But, I mean, what a remarkable thing. And again, I did that thing about going, Sting's retiring tonight. Here he is and it was just a million. The people who were nice were the people who follow the account. Yeah. Because they were like, I've done this before. It's they do Saturday pay-per-views and it's actually tomorrow and everything like that. But it's the American lads who just, and the non-following British lads, and they just come in and go, tonight, it brought back a lot of memories. And again, things like this I do feel are quite important in that telling of the history of sort of wrestling fandom, especially in Britain. And, he made a really, really good point, which was WCW saw the UK was such a hotbed for wrestling. They did the first tours here in 1991, and they were concentrating more on this as a market than the WWF, who were just big everywhere. And they would put their content out. They had loads of it. But WCW did lots of targeting of the UK. And their stuff was quite low rent. Yeah. There were sort of card games that were adapted from, one from 3 years before that had dinosaurs on it. And then they just sort of go stick a drawing of Ric Flair. The amount of drawn WCW merchandise you got was absolutely off the hook, and for no reason. Yeah. For no reason. They owned their own copyright. They could have taken photos, but they were like, do a pen drawing. They had lots of stuff, and seeing those things, as Ian made the point, he sort of says you'd go to a lot of discount stores and there would be loads of WCW stuff, and that was absolutely true. The Galoobs, which were the hard sort of figures that they had out at the same time. Slightly bigger than the Hasbros, which is annoying if you were a kid, but you would see everywhere. And I think nobody really collected them with passion. You collected them because you couldn't get the Hasbros. Available, and you'd go, they're a couple of quid, I'll buy one. And they are, surprisingly, they've really stood the test of time. They look so much better now. Yeah. But that was very much WCW.
You've got bigger eyes now.
WCW also, with their signing of the Bulldog, they were very much always going, they were still sort of, even though they were national, quite a regional, their fan base is mainly based in the South. And they were looking over to the UK.
Just Bulldog signing was about a certain amount of in-ring ability. Certainly wasn't for his promos, but he, but they had one eye on the European market,
and they were on ITV for many years. It's there is something about when AEW are boasting about being on ITV and terrestrial TV and how many people see them. There is a part of me that goes, WCW used to be on there as well, and look how that.
Let's compare the figures.
Yeah, they weren't on a point A where you could stream or B in a time slot. I mean, they really were at 2 a.m. But it took me back, and actually, I found the retirement of Sting is something that's actually sort of moved me a lot more than I imagined it would.
Yes.
He really is the last person from, if you like, the era where you started watching, which is insane considering it was 35 years ago. Yeah. He is the last one who was still going. Sometimes you barely even noticed it. You didn't see him aging. He wasn't in positions necessarily all the time where you were noticing him. But I do sort of suddenly realise, goodness me, I first saw him live in 1991 in a match against Scott Hall in London. I saw him win the WCW title from Vader in 1993. And it goes all the way to last year, All In, where I saw him team with Darby Allin to take on Swerve Strickland and Christian in a coffin match. And you suddenly realise, God, I've been watching him since I was 14.
Yeah.
You know, all that time, he's been, all the things that have happened in my life, he's just always been a constant. Even though it wasn't a constant that I was like, I measure my life by that.
I want to watch that.
It's just been there, and sort of realizing he's stepping away at such a high level.
Yeah.
You know, it's so great to see him going out on that brilliant sort of stage.
And all props to AEW for treating exactly how you should treat an old hand.
Absolutely. They protected him, they kept him safe, and they realized, you know, people just want to see him.
Yeah.
You know, and let them see the best version of him possible. And so it's sort of I found it odd in the last couple of days. It's always been something just in the back of my head where I occasionally go, oh, no more Sting. Very, very sad. It's officially March.
It's officially March. We are officially heading towards WrestleMania.
WrestleMania in Philadelphia. I got my ticket last night.
You got the ticket?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, flight or just tickets to ride?
Yeah, my flight. I'm going by coach. I did definitely leave it one day too late.
Right.
There was a changeover in. I don't know why I didn't do it earlier.
Prices, space, facilities.
All of it.
Yeah.
All of it. Oh,
right,
yeah. You're going to pay more for less, and it's going to be appalling. So I got that sorted. And I did sit there and think, you know, if we didn't do this, to go to WrestleMania and to buy tickets for it and the accommodation and everything, you know, you do have to be a member of the aristocracy.
Yes.
The very people who do not go. It's an amazing...
There's no old money in wrestling, is there?
No.
It's all new.
Not at all.
It's all fleeting Dubai nonsense.
Yeah, it is. The only people who make money in wrestling are the promoters.
Yes.
And then they lose it all because they're horrible, aren't they?
Because they love wrestling too much.
There's no money to be retained in wrestling. We've got some really exciting stuff coming up. There's been sort of odds and ends. I do feel like everyone is slightly holding back this year and not going, here is the incredible stuff we've got on. And there's a slight sort of sense of GCW, for example, who put on a series of shows under the umbrella of the Collective, which we're going to go and see. We've got a ticket to go and see all of them.
Are they doing it like a creamery or something? A death factory? I think they might be doing it at a death factory, an abattoir.
It's Penn's Landing Caterers.
Caterers, yes, it's a caterers.
Yeah, it's that funny thing in America where you sort of... I understand why a caterer might have a venue.
Yeah.
But only in America would you go, why don't we have the actual event at the caterers?
Yeah, because, I mean, I guess I presume it's got the facilities. I just don't think that... I mean, it probably has running water.
Yeah.
Toilets.
Yep.
It's just the sweaty... men and women doing sweaty men and women stuff and maintaining a catering business. Seems...
Why is the batter gone all grey? There's wrestling fans over there sweating. I mean, that is a sort of like a very American thing, really, isn't it? That you sort of hear... The idea that you go, the party takes place at the caterers.
Yes.
What do you mean? I don't understand that at all. And then they sort of just go, and the caterers can also be hired by wrestling shows.
Yeah.
So we're going to see that. We actually have never, I don't think, in all of our WrestleMania trips,
been allowed catering.
stayed closer to the main venue that we're going to all the time.
Oh, I am so excited to have an almost walkable 15-minute city to enjoy the wrestling in.
What a great plan. You look back on it now and you go, to have it in LA was madness.
Yeah.
Absolutely ridiculous. How dare you?
But we could walk home from WrestleMania
Yeah.
in about 45 minutes to an hour.
Yep, and I think we can walk to Penn's Landing Caterers. I think it would be less than 20 minutes.
Lovely.
I mean, that is like the vision of
I'm drunk all the time because I don't need to drive.
Yeah, we are going to have the time of our life.
I'm going to have the time of my life, and you're going to have the time of your life, and I am having, for very stupid reasons, I've got to fly into New York, and I'm going to drive down with an electric car. Further complicating the plan a little bit.
Don't you show your face at Philly International Airport? This
fucking thing better work on cheesesteaks, etc., etc. But I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to 7 hours off.
I know.
On the flight.
That's the thing we all can look forward to. Sometimes I did actually look at the things and they were like, it's 7 hours 5, or you can get this later one, and it's 7 hours 50, and I'd sort of go, there's an extra 45 minutes, isn't it, of just doing nothing. I've got one thing that's concerning me at the moment, though, Pete, and that's that I've got a bad case of Benoit tooth.
What do you mean? Your crippler crossface tooth.
See this one here?
Right. Okay.
No, that tooth is not long for this world.
Oh, is it? Have you bashed it?
Yeah, I woke up one morning. It felt a bit wobbly. The next few days,
Wobbly, bobbly.
it was a weird sensation that I was like, it's familiar, but I can't quite place it.
Take it back to when you were 9.
Exactly that.
Right, wobbly tooth.
Because I went to my dentist, and my dentist did an X-ray, and the dentist said to me, "What you've got is you've got a veneer, and it's been placed on a tooth, but the tooth underneath is a baby tooth."
What?
So
they veneered your baby tooth.
I used to have quite a sharp tooth there, like a fang. And so the dentist years ago stuck a veneer on top.
Pre-grown up tooth.
Yeah, but no one ever said to me, "Oh yeah, it's a baby tooth. It's a milk tooth." So when he X-rayed it, there is no root. The tooth is just attached to the gum. So basically, like a baby.
You have captured a baby tooth.
Yeah.
You've just kind of imprisoned it in a veneer.
Yep,
it's died.
My body has said, I will replace all the teeth. This one is fine.
Yeah.
This one is absolutely fine.
Interesting.
No tooth hiding up above, ready to come through. No, just decided not
You've
to grow.
got such nice teeth. So you are worried you're going to, are the other, within the time we've got before WrestleMania, are you worried you're going to turn to look like a yokel?
Yeah.
And be very self-conscious about it? Right.
And I'm also worried that it looks like I've actually had surgery to sort of look more like Mick Foley. And it sort of is the worst thing imaginable.
Oh no!
The more I say,
just put it in your nose. Put it in your nose, like Hell in a Cell.
And then people will see me and they'll just sort of think, "Oh, look at that! Oh, it's the Mick Foley guy." Like I'll look like one of those people who dress up like the Hulk Hogan, or the UK Undertaker guy who does the conventions. This is like the worst thing imaginable. But I can almost guarantee.
I can smell money.
I said to the dentist, "Look, is this any chance that this is going to get like
better
right itself?" And he was like, "I mean, it's a very, very low likelihood."
It's yeah. Could they not? I mean, because presumably, because it's a veneer, it's not a real tooth.
Yeah,
it's over the top. Could they not just glue it?
The problem is what they glue it to, and that's the baby tooth behind it. You see.
Okay.
So he said to me, "Look, there are different options. You can have a butterfly sort of tooth, which is basically a fake
attached
one
to the other tooth,
back
right?
one,
Okay, right.
Or he says, or implants.
Right.
And either one takes about 2 months. So I'm fucked.
Right.
But look, I mean,
chuddy,
wonderful thing. If you ever want your body to cost you $3,000 for no apparent reason, then having a baby tooth all your life is really the way to go.
Wow.
Also pointed out I had no wisdom teeth either.
I think I had, and I quote my dentist as saying, piddly ones. Not really trying. Low achieving teeth.
What?
But we are looking forward to WrestleMania, and we are going to be coming at you hard, fast,
yes,
and to the point from Philadelphia on the YouTube and on the Patreon as well. So
I look forward to it because it's the only time we really do talk about modern wrestling. I know I do like covering the modern wrestling.
Yeah,
I think it's modern, isn't it?
And I've got a friend with me who seems to know about it and tells me about it. So he points out why this is good, why this is bad, why this is exciting.
He's very good because he's big and fat. And you don't get big and fat ones anymore.
Yes. He's shouting an anti-trans thing at a woman in WrestleCon. Oh yeah. Yes. Why does he look sad inside? Because he is sad inside.
But don't be sad because that's not part of his character. That's just the man who plays it. You can still enjoy the character.
You can still enjoy the kayfabe.
We are going to be seeing at Spring Break, which is Joey Janela's show that he puts on. We're going to be seeing
Joey Janela, ice cream or something Italia. Tutti frutti, what a cutie. Take a Gino home with you. That was an advert for Gino Ginello.
Gino Ginelli.
Ice cream from the 80s.
Yeah, Gino Ginelli.
Take a Gino home with you.
They must have seen, when Hagen Dazs came in, they must have gone, that's how we should have done it.
Oh, so jabba.
So close.
Tutti frutti, what a cutie. Take a Gino home with you.
Gino Ginelli, the ice cream sensation.
Gino Ginelli.
Joey Janela, they're putting on the second ever Punjabi prison match, which is a great thing to have brought back.
Yeah.
The first one, of course, between Batista and the Great Khali, a weird sort of bamboo structure that you couldn't see through and the cameras couldn't film through, involving
they do this?
the Khali. It's
Khali,
obviously going to be a nightmare.
To be fair, he's not moving fast.
No. We've also got on that show Tommy Rich, which is fantastic. So Tommy Rich, once the sort of youngest NWA champion of all time, back in 1981, I think it was, and he is the sort of, if you like, the earliest of the NWA champions who is still active. So it's incredible to think that, that is now, 43 years ago. And we will get to see him. I am excited. For the first time in anyone's life that someone is excited to see Tommy Rich. How exciting. One of the other people we're going to see no more of as well is Virgil.
We lost Virgil this week.
Yeah.
That's very, very sad indeed.
Mike Jones, the same name as my father-in-law. The two of them, very similar.
He's the enforcer of the family.
Manchester retired lawyer and Virgil.
Yeah. Probably could have done with the services.
There was a nice little bit that OSW found out, which was Virgil has always lied about his age.
Right.
And so when he died, everyone was like, he was 62.
Right.
And they actually found out that, no, he was in his mid to late 70s.
Okay. That seems more heartening, I suppose.
Does.
Weirdly.
It does.
No one should be happy when someone...
What's funny about that is you knock it back and you realise that he had his big run against his former employer, the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, at SummerSlam 91. He was 40, which was, at that time, an old age for a guy you were pushing as being a new star. So, I mean, Virgil is... It's a funny one, Virgil. He was for a long, long time a valet and hated. And the actual angle that he did where he broke away from the $1 Million Man and then ended up challenging him for his $1 Million belt, it was amazingly hot at the time. And he didn't have a great deal of confidence as a performer, I don't think. There was always something about him that you were a bit, he's not like everybody else.
Yeah, he's not quite there in the ring, so to speak.
I mean, he should have been.
He'd been around for such a long time. What was he doing with his time?
He'd watched every main event that Ted DiBiase was in for years, but it never sort of quite clicked. And so in the 90s, they were pushing him. And he was, at that time, one of the very, very few African-American WWF superstars. And they were pushing him with he didn't really have a personality beyond the fact he had candy cane sort of legs. That was it.
Right.
He would then, of course, end up being put in the NWO as the sort of, the lackey and the...
I think I was in the NWO. the more WCW we're watching, was I in the NWO at some point?
I think as well, the sad thing for Virgil is, had he stopped there, I think, he would have been more fondly remembered. But what he's remembered for more is Lonely Virgil sitting there at the convention, a convention where he would have a sign up that would talk about how $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase was there, and $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase would then ring in and go, "See, I'm advertised. What's this?" There were lots of sort of sharp. There's photos of him selling his 8x10s in the New York subway, just hoping someone will come and there's lots of things about people
like you wouldn't buy one as well. It sounds like a depressing story, but it's like, I reckon he's still cleaned up.
Yeah. Well, look,
that's rent money.
If you're waiting for a train and you go, "Oh, take an hour, get my photos out," and you come out with $80, well done you.
Well, yeah, exactly. I would. Did you see Ted DiBiase's tribute to him?
No,
it was all over the place.
Was it?
It was very much like it limited appeal.
Oh, God.
Limited appeal. Kept his body. That was the most thing he said. Kept his body. Limited appeal. He wasn't being horrible, but I think he was caught on the hop a little bit.
Yeah.
Which shouldn't be because he was in his mid-70s, turns out.
But
he did sort of go, he just, I did used to say in conventions, "Come and sit next to me, Virgil." But then Virgil said something about me that I didn't like, so I didn't do it anymore. And it was like, this tribute's all over the place,
There is something funny about how Virgil sort of became a better pro wrestling character when he'd retired than he was during his active career, where he just showed nothing but sort of bananas energy, where he was absolutely... Joey Janela did do a nice tribute to him because he'd used him for a couple of shows. I think the original sort of clusterfuck battle royale, he was a big sort of surprise in it. And Joey Janela had said he'd met Virgil when he was a kid. Right. And he had gone up to him and sort of gone, "Hi, are you Virgil?" And Virgil had said, "If you give me $20, you can have a signed photo." He was always selling.
On the hustle, yeah.
But Joey Janela used him in the years, and he did say he was just a sweet, funny guy, you know. And it's, I think there's, he'd suffered in his later life as well. I think, in recent years, he had actually had a dementia diagnosis. At the time, people were like, that seems cruelly young, to get that diagnosis. But then you suddenly realise, oh gosh, no, it turns out that is just one of those things that happens when you get to that age. So it is sad to see see him go. He always felt like one of those guys who was always around, because you'd see him online. He'd be doing his strange stuff about loving Olive Garden and being the king of meat sauce.
Yeah.
He had a big thing a few years ago about Virgil's fuck money. That was a big thing that came up. And there was an element of the hustler about him that was charming in a way that it never really came out during his wrestling career.
Yeah.
Where unfortunately, he was fairly bland. He never seemed to click. Only when he left did he seem to get a little bit of that magic stardust.
But also, I think African American characters in WWE and WCW were limited by the way that the company framed them.
Absolutely. Do you know what's quite interesting? I got sent my first bit of official WWF contact thanks to the fantastic John Smith at the Irish Independent. I get to do a little bit of writing about wrestling for them every now and then. And by the time we've recorded this, I will have done an interview with Becky Lynch on paper.
If you've seen a man getting cancelled.
But they sent me a copy of the book that she's had out.
She's done. Yeah, she's done.
Not Your Average Girl.
Right.
Becky Lynch, The Man, Rebecca Quinn. There's a lot on there. A lot on the thing. It's what is interesting is just how critical she is, without necessarily being overtly all the time critical, but she's incredibly critical throughout as a sort of background note about the way that women were treated in WWE and are still treated.
Okay.
And she has a thing about saying things like the Evolution pay-per-view, which was an all-women-only one, she was very against. And she says, because, they wouldn't do an all-male pay-per-view, so don't treat us differently. And she talks throughout the whole thing that she feels like the women and herself as well are sidelined the entire time, and just saying this is the way that things are, and it does need to be changed. And I think it has changed. But I was sort of aware that it's incredible.
And that was the notes I wrote in the book, saying back to her. I've added some bits. It's all fine now.
The thing about that is what it does say is that even a few years ago, there are, if you like, non-male performers who are saying we are still, just not pushed in the way that we should be.
Yeah.
And if you imagine what it was like back in the 80s and early 90s with anyone who wasn't, if you like, a straightforward Hulk Hogan-esque superhero, then of course, these people are going to be working much, much harder, and they are going to be pigeonholed and held back. One thing I'm not going to obviously bring up, or I will do and see how it goes, but it's a really unfortunate thing for Becky Lynch that this book has been written and printed in the months sort of around the whole Vince McMahon issue.
Yeah.
So what comes across in it is that he's not a warm guy.
Right.
And he's strange and everyone is frightened of him. But there's enough in there that you go, bet you wish you could just go back 6 months, eh? And just take out a couple of those bits where you are positive about him.
Yes.
You do get that thing reading between the lines, just how strange and cold he is. And how much even people like Becky Lynch, when she's in the middle of the man run, where she's absolutely the biggest star, male or female, in the business, she's still nervous about talking to Vince McMahon. And I do look at that and I go, it was never healthy, was it?
No.
And we all accepted that. You just sort of go, oh yeah, there's a monster who runs it. And you go, in what way is a monster? And you sort of go, well, most ways, visibly.
I mean, I guess it's there is a certain part of me that just sort of thinks that like CEOs that sort of relationship is just going to be like that till the end of time, just simply because it's not a collaborative process.
No.
Like what he says goes, and that's how they've set up the company. And I don't think to be honest, I don't think there's many companies that would run it any differently. So there is always going to be a weird bit of, but to feel like you're not being used correctly, or if the people that Vince surrounds himself with are exactly the same, I think that's a bigger problem.
Hugely. It's a fun book, and I think it's she does have an unusual sort of like, route, if you like, because she was from Ireland. And so that sort of makes it even less likely you were going to go to WWE. And then she gets there and she does, she's never the person they put the spotlight on.
Yeah.
And she just breaks through, and it's an enjoyable read. She certainly comes out through it. So yeah, look, I would say, and I'll probably say this in the interview, it's worth picking up.
Yeah. I wouldn't knock it off the shelf in Waterstones.
Yeah, absolutely. There is also a photo in there of her and Seth Rollins. And she was like, oh, you knew this photo was going to be in here, didn't you? You could have guaranteed it was one of these. Where they've got their belts, and Rollins has his belt across his naked groin.
Willy, yeah.
And she has hers across breasts
Right.
and lower parts.
Right, okay.
Because she's got 2 belts.
Yes.
Becky 2 belts. And
Right.
it's in a hotel mirror, and it's
Okay.
taken with a sort of like, it's not been framed well.
No, yeah.
And I did look at it, and I did just sort of go, you've got to stop doing that. It's like, if everyone sort of goes, oh, I left that job. Here's a photo of me resting my dick on the handle of the door. You've got to stop putting your genitals on stuff
Yeah.
that other people are going to touch.
I mean, certain people in that picture need to stop sending their genitals anywhere, don't they, really? So,
That's true.
Yeah.
That is
Put
very
them
true.
away, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Not much of a roundup particularly. We've just been having fun. I went out last week, and I actually had my first like alcoholic drink of the year.
Okay,
I was like,
right.
I had a couple of drinks. I had some red wine. I was like, oh, this is nice. I really enjoyed myself. And got back the next morning, and obviously when I was on the bus back home, I'd gone onto eBay and I'd sort of looked around. I think I'd been like, I wasn't smashed or anything. I wasn't going, buy this. But I did wake up next morning. I was like, oh, okay, what have I got here? It's Paul Bearer autograph. It was £10, and I was like,
It's a good price.
yeah, suspiciously good price.
Suspiciously good price.
So
Yeah.
I thought it does look kosher,
Yeah.
and it was a guy who was selling it from the UK. He said, oh, I got this in '92.
Right.
I
Okay.
think.
Yeah.
And I thought, yeah, Bavaria was there. Okay. So have a look. So I had a look at what else he was selling, and he was selling
Hitler's.
a number of like Ultimate Warrior, Razor Ramon, and some others. It was sort of from the same. I got this in the UK.
Yeah.
All different times,
Right.
but exactly the same. 2 things. The
Yeah,
same.
I got Paul Bearer on them.
Same paper. So the same size and the same, small little paper. And I was
Yeah.
like, all right, you might have had a pad.
Might
that
have
you
had the
used
pad
for
that you
2
see.
years.
Yeah.
But I noticed like the Ultimate Warrior one had been signed, and then he'd written where it was got, and it was in exactly the same pen.
Yeah.
And then the Paul Bearer one, scratch pen, and I was like, oh, you would have the pen. That's fair
You
enough.
would have the pen. Yeah. None of this is admissible as court evidence. I think this is all plausible, isn't it?
I looked at it and I just thought, I've been done there, haven't I?
You've been done.
Stupid, got drunk, bought a fake Paul Bearer
Bought a
autograph.
piece of paper with Paul Bearer.
I'm going to do one of those things in the mirror where I hold it up and I'm going to be
Look all sad, yeah.
look all sad.
Near some bins.
And it will be about the government have got to do something about this. So many people are going out
These
there and
confidence
buying
tricksters.
Yeah, buying £10 possibly fake autographs of dead wrestling managers. We've got to do something.
Got to get on top of this. For crying out loud.
Heartbreaking,
Never
yeah.
mind. Well, there you go. Before we head on to our PPV, I've got a little gift from Lev, and Lev has sent us these cards.
Oh,
which is
what's
very
this?
exciting.
I can see some World of Sport logo.
Yeah, professional wrestling.
Oh, isn't that good?
Are these
World
is
of
this-
Sport, top trumps.
They feel very. I don't know whether. I don't think Lev has made them himself.
I don't know. They are. I mean, they're
they,
good, aren't they?
They look new and they look good and they look kind of like they look good. I can't figure it out really.
They
so, yeah.
do.
And they do have like original kind of. They do have kind of original kind of like they have the different suits that so you could play legitimate cards with them if you so wished. If you wanted the 5 of Hearts to be the Flying Scotsman, Colin.
Have you seen the Joker? It's Alfred Hayes' face.
Oh, of course, yes. Sorry, yeah. So Levi has actually made these.
Yeah.
Levi, this is fantastic. I thought you just bought them.
They're insanely good. They are actually like professional top trumps.
Oh, yeah. See, yeah, one of them is banter, to be fair. Shall we have a quick game?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, okay.
Let's do it.
How do you do trumps again? You just pull out, you just choose a card.
That's right. Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
Okay. All right.
So you go first.
All right. Ability.
Yep.
4.
5. Dynamite Kid.
Ah, nuts.
Oh.
I'd stinking superstar Mal Sanders.
Hey, you should have gone for sportsmanship on
I
that one.
should have
You'd
gone with
definitely won
sportsmanship.
because this is the Dynamite Kid. Great.
He's only got a 3 for this one.
Oh, this is going to be difficult to win.
Yeah.
Belfast Bruiser, Rocky Moran. Ooh.
Rocky Moran. Right.
Oh no. Sportsmanship 2.
I've got a 4. I've got the amazing Kung Fu.
Oh, I like
Lovely
Kung
stuff.
Fu. Right, Pete, your go.
All right, okay. I've gone for championships, please.
Oh, championships. 5.
5.
I've got Danny Boy Collins.
Ah, nuts. I've got the man of 1,000 holes, Johnny Saint.
Johnny Saint.
He's
So
got sportsmanship. He's got banter 2.
we've got to do another championships, haven't we?
Yeah, all right, yeah, cool.
Burt Royal, 5.
But with what?
Championships.
Oh, championships. Sorry, championships again. I've only got 2. I'm John, or maybe Jean Cortez.
John Cortez.
John Cortez. He's 5'7".
Have you never? Did you not play top trumps when you were younger?
Not really. No. It's very new to me, to be honest. we got.
I thought like every British kid would have known how top trumps work.
Well, I'm tired. We've got young David, Davy Boy Smith. We've got the juggler Marty Jones.
Hang on, we've got to play it properly.
Oh, sorry.
If you lose the third hand, you have to give the other
my
person
wife.
£100,000. That's how it works.
Nuts.
When you the first person to work out that if you dried a cow's skin, and you were like, it's an entirely new product. The cow must have been like, I've got so many functions for them. So many functions. This is no good. I do so
use.
I can feed them. I can clothe them. I can give them drinks.
Yeah.
You know, I can give them big eyes. They can frighten children with.
I can be romanced.
Yeah.
A lonely farmer can romance me.
At least they'll be able to bury my butt. No, glue.
No, glue. We're going to boil it. There will be no